Saturday night, 192 million people glued themselves to a WNBA broadcast, and the league's brightest new star never even peeled off her warm-ups. Viewership spiked past 2.1 million at its peak, vaulting Fever Sky into the top 10 regular season audiences in almost a quarter century, all while Caitlin Clark sat nursing a quad strain in a hoodie and high tops. Why did fans obsess over a silent sideline cameo? And why is Angel Reese so certain those eyeballs came for her 4-point 12-rebound hustle instead? One player pulls crowds like gravity, the other explodes like fireworks, and the scoreboard of attention refuses to pick a side. Stick around, because this rivalry is rewriting the rules of what it takes to own the moment. The television numbers didn't just edge upward, they detonated. Saturday's Clarkless clash between the Fever and Sky averaged 1.92 million viewers on CBS, the 8th largest WNBA regular season audience since 2001 and third biggest of 2025. At one point, the broadcast spiked to 2.16 million, outdrawing primetime baseball and snatching eyes that usually drift toward crime dramas and cooking reruns. To put that jolt in perspective, a typical national WNBA window hovers around 500,000 viewers. Respectable, but hardly appointment television. This game quadrupled that baseline and did it without the league's headline act on the floor. It also came only weeks after Clark's season-opening duel with Angel Reese pulled 2.70 million on ABC, the most-watched WNBA contest in 25 years. Strip away the superstar, and audiences still stampeded back for the sequel. Somewhere in a programming bunker, a network executive is staring at the Saturday night grid, wondering who greenlit a ratings hurricane in a slot normally reserved for reruns. But before the confetti settles, another question crackles through social feeds. If gravity stayed seated, what, or who, pulled fans into orbit? And that's where Angel Reese steps onto the stage, armed with screenshots, swagger, and a claim that the record hall belongs to her. Angel Reese, self-crowned ratings queen. Enter Angel Reese scrolling through X and Instagram like a late-night talk show host checking her mentions. Within minutes of the 1.92 million headline dropping, she reposts highlight clips captioned Ratings Queen and laughs that the crowd came for my me bounds. On the stat sheet, her night was more mortar than masterpiece. 4 points on 2 for 7 shooting, 12 rebounds, 2 assists. Yet the post-game narrative was all Reese, all confidence. She brandished the numbers like proof of concept, insisting those 1.92 million sets of eyes were trained on her rebounding hustle and don't try me glare. The swagger isn't new. Last month, the Players Union splashed Reese across a season-long marketing push, nudging her face ahead of Clark's in a bid to broaden star power, sportsyahoo.com. And when critics mocked her Me Bounds nickname, she doubled down, telling DraftKings she'd spin the trolls into six-figure merch. But confidence doesn't always cash out. Sports Media Watch's raw data shows Clark-led broadcasts averaging nearly 2 million more viewers than non-Clark windows. Even this Reese-heavy game still landed behind 2 earlier Fever dates headlined by Clark. So whose gravity really ripped the Nielsen needle off the dial? Reese waves her crown. Clark barely waves from the bench. The debate's louder than a sold-out arena, and the receipts are about to spill onto the court. Because up next, we break down the Clark effect, and why even her silence drowns out every shout. The Clark effect. Gravity strong enough to bend TV, strip away the swagger and the memes, and the scorecard gets brutal. When Caitlin Clark plays, viewers flood in like it's a spring tide, 2.70 million on ABC's season opener against the Sky, peaking at 3.1 million, the biggest regular season WNBA audience in 25 years. Bench her, and the floor still shakes. Saturday's matchup, Clark in a hoodie, quad-iced, averaged 1.92 million and spiked to 2.16 million, slotting into the league's top 10 regular season draws since 2001. sportsyahoo.com. Yet the contrast is telling. 2 Fever games on NBA TV without her cratered to roughly 344,000, a 40% dive from her usual pull. The gravitational pull isn't just on-screen. Clark's jerseys vanish faster than concert tickets. Fever pop-ups now need crowd control ropes, and an unreleased Kobe Bryant sneaker co-branded with her initials is already listing for US $5,000 on resale sites. SI.com, even the team's social feed flexes. Every seat filled. Blared the Fever's home opener tweet. 13,000 bodies crammed into Gainbridge, weeks before she'd logged a minute. Here's the math nobody in marketing class prepared for. One injured sophomore equals the 8th largest TV audience in 24 seasons, a sold-out arena that chants her name during warm-ups, and broadcast execs scrambling to rearrange schedules like they just discovered a secret holiday. So if gravity can sit still and still bend the ratings needle, what happens when the fireworks flare again? Hold that thought, because the next Flashpoint foul didn't just stoke the rivalry, it supercharged the narrative into must-see drama. Flashpoint foul and fallout. 3 weeks ago, the rivalry left the stat sheet and leapt straight into viral infamy. Mid-third quarter in Chicago, Caitlin Clark swiped hard across Angel Reese's arms on a breakaway. Officials whistled it a flagrant one. Reese jawed back, and the replay loop hit ESPN's front page before the sweat dried. Moments later, Reese answered with a chest bump that earned her a technical, and the broadcast cut to a slow-motion montage of side-eyes, finger-wagging, and fans practically foaming at the lens. That single sequence detonated online. Bench Gravity trended for clips of Clark shrugging in her warm-ups, while Patchwash Me Bounds lit up X as Reese flexed her dozen rebounds like championship rings. But the fallout wasn't just meme fuel. The league opened an investigation after courtside audio caught racial slurs hurled at Reese during the same game, an ugly turn that pushed the controversy into nightly news cycles and think pieces about fandom, race, and women's sports. Drama, outrage, and a highlight reel foul, ratings gold, culture war Tinder. And the numbers showed it. CBS's primetime slot for the very next Fever Sky clash, Clark sidelined, emotions still raw, pulled 1.92 million viewers, the biggest WNBA audience on the network ever. The rivalry had morphed into reality television with a shot clock, and every foul now felt like a season finale cliffhanger. But tempers and televised theatrics were just the spark. Next comes the full-blown pop culture inferno, when Magic Johnson drops a Bird vs. Magic comparison and TikTok decides bench claps matter more than box scores. Pop culture inferno. When a Hall of Famer stops mid-vacation to tweet about rookies, you know the rivalry has burst its sports bubble. Irvin Magic Johnson, the man who once sold out arenas on site, announced that Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese feels a lot like Larry Bird versus me, the same clash that rescued the NBA from tape delay oblivion in the 80s. The internet agreed, and then did what the internet does best: memeify. Within hours of Clark's hoodie-clad bench cameo, TikTok stitched her rapid-fire claps and side-eye into mashups set to dramatic orchestra hits, racking up hundreds of thousands of likes. nypost.com, tiktok.com. Cable producers noticed. When a silent bench reaction trends higher than a 20-point blowout dunk, you've officially crossed into entertainment-first territory. Meanwhile, fan edit accounts turned Reese's every glare into GIF currency. One looped her Me Bounce flex over glimmer effects while superimposing fake Nielsen graphs spiking behind her. NBA Twitter, always hungry, nicknamed the duo Fireworks and Gravity, debating which force moves more merch. And if Magic's Bird vs. Magic parallel set the frame, millions of swipes, stitches, and stitched-on stat sheets nailed the picture to the culture wall. But the frenzy isn't just social media confetti, it's hard cash and hardball politics. And Angel is already warning the league she's ready to wield that spotlight at the bargaining table: money, power, and player politics. The cash tide is rising as fast as the TV numbers. Deloitte now projects women's elite sports revenue will smash past US $2.35 billion in 2025, with basketball singled out as the largest slice of that pie, over $1 billion on its own. The consultants credit one factor above all: magnetic new stars who yank audiences and sponsors wherever they go. Angel Reese hears that forecast like a drumbeat. On her podcast and in a flurry of late-night posts, she's warned the league that players will sit out as long as it takes if salaries stay stuck in the low five-figure basement. Her message landed 3 months after she and several teammates floated the same threat in interviews, staking out leverage while the spotlight is hottest. Why push now? The current collective bargaining agreement expires October 31st, 2025, and the union triggered its opt-out last winter to force fresh negotiations. With every million-viewer broadcast, their bargaining chips multiply. That sets up a collision course: executives courting new sponsors versus athletes demanding a bigger cut. Reese positions herself as the movement's megaphone. Clark, intentionally or not, is its proof of concept, one star who can tilt the entire balance sheet. Every extra rating point strengthens the player's hand, and the owners know it. And just as those talks start to simmer, gravity is about to jog back onto the hardwood. Tomorrow night, Caitlin Clark returns against the unbeaten Liberty, fresh off draining a half-court banker to end practice, and the rematch calendar is circled, the money is on the table, and the trilogy chapter of Fireworks vs. Gravity is seconds from tip-off. Return of Gravity. Tomorrow night, Caitlin Clark laces up again, quad-wrapped, jumper uncorked, ready to test an unbeaten Liberty squad on national TV. Word of her full-speed practice leak hit social feeds like a siren. Half-court bank shot, grin, mic drop walk-off. Instantly, resale sites flipped Fever Liberty tickets at NBA-level markups, and ESPN bumped its baseball tees for a Clark Cam countdown. Angel Reese, meantime, reposts clips of her own putbacks in slow-mo, captioned, "Don't blink." She's no supporting cast. She wants co-billing, co-pay, co-spotlight. One night, two narratives, one ratings Richter scale about to quake again. If 1.92 million tuned in for Clark in street clothes, how high does the number fly when Gravity comes sprinting out of the tunnel? Gravity versus Fireworks. So here we stand. A silent sideline cameo that yanked TV numbers into orbit, a swaggering rebound queen demanding credit, and a league suddenly negotiating in billions instead of thousands. Clark centers the storm. Reese fans the flames. One steadies, one ignites. But together, they're pulling the WNBA into rare air where sellouts feel routine and Saturday night hoops can bully primetime dramas off the schedule. Maybe Reese is the spark and Clark the pull. Maybe Fireworks need Gravity to matter and Gravity needs Fireworks to be seen. Either way, every new chapter writes itself in real time and the next chapter tips off tonight. The only question left is simple. When the ball goes up, which force will you follow?